Welcome back. I'm Geoff Walker, and this is WalkerTalks, and this is a podcast where we have a special guest today. And today we are meeting with Brittany Parr, who is a paramedic, and Brittany is also a board member of the Ottawa First Responders Foundation. I've had the privilege of getting to know you, Brittany, and obviously see the work that you do with the board. Our office during the month of April has a campaign for the frontline, and it's a campaign that our family and our team really takes to heart to try to support, paramedics, police officers, firefighters, the extensions, which is their families, and veterans. So maybe to start off, as a paramedic, how would you describe, let's get right into it, the day in the life of what you do?
Being a paramedic is such a rewarding career. It's definitely a career that I jumped headfirst into and have always just enjoyed. I'm very fortunate for that. And that's because of the support that I feel from my employer and my peers and other organizations such as the First Responder Foundation and Walker Real Estate, where we are so supported as frontline workers. As a paramedic, when you go into the career, you don't expect what you get out of it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You go into it knowing that you're going to be able to help people, knowing that you're going to be able to expect X, Y, and Z, but then your expectations aren't met. They are expanded and more is thrown at you and nothing's ever the same. So day to day, when you go into work, you're prepared for work, you put on that same uniform, you pack that same lunch, you drive to the same place to start your shift, and then from there, it's just open to whatever your day is, and you take it in stride. And so as a paramedic, you need to be very flexible. You need to be open to change throughout the day. You need to not have those expectations set of this is what my day is going to look like and this is what I'm going to do, because it's out of your control. So you very much just need to roll with the punches. And in recent years, paramedics, as well as our partners with police and fire and other emergency responders, have definitely had that wrench thrown at them through the COVID pandemic, where coming into work really meant being able to explore our passion and help our community and give what we can of ourselves to them, but while also maintaining a little bit of that fear and reservation now of our own families and protecting our families and making sure that we can be there for them, but also continue to show up for our community and continue to show up and give the best that we can to our patients and their families, as they should expect and as they do expect.
Right. So, thinking about that daily routine of the unknowns, right? Like every day you have a similar routine, I'm sure, in terms of how you get dressed in the process of, getting yourself prepared. But what call comes in next, or where you're going next, or what environment you're going to go into next will always be changing. And I can always think back to, this is going back even before the foundation had started, where it was this, when you call 911 as a member of the public, we're calling because there's a problem. We're calling because we're not having a good day. We're calling because there's some event that's either taking place, that's in process, an accident. I mean, you'd be able to tell us better about all the events that you can call about, but you're hoping, right, that whoever shows up, whichever frontline worker, and if it involves a paramedic, you're hoping that this stranger is going to be able to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. Now, I know that you're trained to do that, but what does that feel like when you're walking into an environment, let's say, where you can sense that there's just an immense amount of pressure, from family? Like, you're a human being. And this is the part that I think the public really needs to know about, right? Like, regardless of training, there's emotion, like there's things that are given to us at birth that training or not, you might have a sense of compassion or a sense of sadness. Like, how do you navigate that to best serve not only the community, but also for yourself? Like, what does that look like? Yeah,
that's a great question. And I feel like the community does need to appreciate that we are humans with our own personal plates that are full at any given day with whatever's going on in our personal life. And when we show up to work, we then try our best to put that stuff aside to be able to take on the needs of our community and then the needs of our individual patients on those calls and their families as well. And a lot of the times, the calls that come to us, they can be very simple calls in the way that it's a chest pain. So for us, it's very much we're going to follow a directive. We're going to care for that patient. Hopefully, we're going to treat them like our family members. And then they can be very complex, where they are those calls that you walk into and it's this whole new scenario that you need to navigate with a lot of noise and activity around you. But your focus is still on the health of those patients or that patient. And I think for me, when I go into calls, I'm always very much aware of making sure that the family and the patient feel like they're important to me. And I often put myself in their shoes so that I can try and anticipate their needs. Right. So there's that saying that treat others how you want to be treated. And I don't believe in that. I feel that you should treat other people how they want to be treated. So just because I may want a Blues Clues Band-Aid doesn't mean that Geoff Walker is going to want that Band-Aid. He may want something completely different.
Right.
So really what I try to do is show the human side of me to my patients and show that I'm there to help them, but also that I'm very competent, that I know what I'm doing, that I'm going to take the necessary steps. And sometimes it's more assertive than they may wish it to be, but I'm going to do what I can to best serve them.
Right.
And that means at the end of the day, I need to also be taking care of myself.
Right.
And that's not always easy for us because we're so used to taking care of other people that at the end of the day, a lot of the times when we go home, we don't have any space left for ourselves, let alone our family and friends. We just need to tap out.
So, I mean, that's totally loaded what you just said, right? Because there's so much that you could talk about just with respect to being able to channel your energy to literally customizing the patient's own experience. Mm-hmm. I like what you said about, treat others how they want to be treated. But that removes the self, that removes you out of the equation and just thinking about other people. And I know that when you give all of yourself to your career, because I like to think I do that. And I think our staff, they do that with their clients. It can be very, very rewarding, but it can also be very not depleting in a negative way, but in terms of your energy, you're giving so much of yourself that, you come home, like you said, a little bit tired. Your family, you might not get the workout in that you were hoping to get in for yourself, or you might not eat necessarily the best way just because you're tired, you're exhausted. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what do you see, maybe through your own lived experiences but just what you see in general? Like, how long can a paramedic go? For how many years before this really starts becoming heavy? Like, it's a weight, right? Like, I mean, you're giving yourself. At one point, like, it's hard to keep giving.
It absolutely is. And I think it comes down to resiliency and support networks and the support networks within our own family, but also with our employer and with our peers and coworkers. So everybody has a different point in their career where they say, or they may need to say enough is enough, or they may recognize within themselves that they're not giving themselves the best of themselves to their patients anymore, or to their partner at work, or to their partner in life. And it's at that point where that's that self-reflection and that emotional intelligence to take a step back and say, I need some time for me. I need some time to get back to where I started so that I can love this career again and continue providing the best for myself to everyone in my life.
Okay. In terms of duration, like, I know that I'm going to make assumptions. So this is coming from me.
Please.
And this is general public observations. So speaking as just a member of the community, not from what I've seen you guys do in work, but, there's obviously a huge amount of police officers. There's next in line would be the population of firefighters. And then the next in line would be the population of paramedics. You have the smallest population of those three departments in terms of unit count. You drive down the street, you see a police car. Like, a police car is continually, by the looks of it anyways, right? They're often, especially if they're in traffic, call after call after call, fire, called, maybe doing maintenance on buildings, inspections. There's that. but there's not a fire every single day or multiple fires every single day. So as a medic, or a paramedic, sorry, as a paramedic, like how many calls in a day would a paramedic get?
Oh, it is a hard one to answer because it can vary day to day based on the needs of our community. But what I will say is the paramedics are non-stop. They are non-stop, and it takes its toll.
Right.
They're going call to call to call, and where they are getting their breaks isn't this scheduled 15-minute break where they're able to put their feet up, warm something in a microwave, eat slowly, go to a bathroom. The breaks that they may be getting are breaks that are spent with patients while they're waiting in hospitals in order for the hospital beds to clear up, in order for our patients then to be transferred to hospital care. So our paramedics are going, and they're finding ways, because they're just such wonderful people with that ability to flex to what's happening around them. But they flex their own needs, and so they will eat in the ambulance because that's the only option they have. They'll sit with their partner and they'll kind of tap in and tap out of patient care so that someone else can go outside and get some fresh air or go and use a bathroom. And at the end of their shift, it's generally a 12-hour shift. They could have done anywhere from 4 to 8 calls. And 8's not a cap. There's many more sometimes, especially if they're single response units, where they're not going to hospital. So they're not getting those same break opportunities as other ambulances may. They're going to call to call to call.
Right.
So I want to say 4 to 8 is going to be an average, but that's just choosing numbers out of my own head.
Right.
They're amazing people. They're amazing people who continue to show up, and they're frustrated some days, and they'll explore that with their peers, and they'll have that conversation, and you see them the next morning and they're smiling and waving and going to the truck that they've been assigned to do it again.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, it's special work, right?
It is.
And I've been able to be exposed to a lot of you and hear the stories, and I think that's what also burns the fire inside of myself, our family, and our office is just, it's kind of hard to turn your back on the people that take care of you if you learn about what they do.
Thank you.
And, so this for me was a bit of an opportunity. Of course, it's during the month of April that we're doing this, and we want to showcase you, because what you do is special. But in terms of, just the overall message to the public, let's say, right? Because I want to talk a little bit about the foundation and who some of the recipients are of the work that you do with the foundation. But what are some of the things that you feel that the public should keep in mind? Because I think, unfortunately, with media and sometimes with some of the stories that we hear about, you can blow up a 25-year career of doing good, and then, someone makes a mistake, and, then the whole group of you are unfortunately painted with the same brush, which isn't fair, right? That's like in our business when someone says we had a bad experience with a former RE/MAX agent. Well, there's over 120,000 RE/MAX agents, right? We don't want to all be stroked with that brush, but people do that. So I've got a soft spot in my heart for you, but why don't you maybe elaborate a little bit on what you think the public should keep in mind? What's important to you?
I think it's important for the public to understand that we went into this career with the hope and the want to help other people, and we recognize the privilege that we have to come into people's lives, to come into people's homes, most generally when they're not having a good day. It's usually you're meeting us under duress. And we recognize that privilege, and we are so fortunate to have it, and we're very grateful to be welcomed into homes. But I think on the opposite side of it, paramedics would like the community to understand that they're humans too, that they have feelings, that they have wants and needs, they have families that they want to go home to, and they don't want to go home to their family at the end of their shift feeling drained and just wanting to be left alone and wanting to take whatever supper they're able to the basement to have some quiet time. They want to go home and be able to give to their families as much as they've given to the community throughout the day. So it's important for the community to recognize we're there to help. We want to help, but we also need some support from you as well in recognizing that if we're taking our time coming into your house, it's not because we're sitting there taking our time. It's because we're putting on our appropriate PPE to protect you and to protect ourselves. We're grabbing the appropriate bags so that we can help you. We're very good at what we do, and we want to be able to work collaboratively with everyone involved at all times in order to do the best we can for who we're called for.
Right.
So having that reciprocation on the other side of being, I don't want to say being grateful that we're here, because that's wrong. It's more of the appreciation from the public that we're humans too. And when that uniform comes off, we're going to be in our Lulus just like you are, wanting happiness and support.
Right.
So
yeah, no. And I think, that's the challenge, right? Is that, you're the everyday hero. At the same time, it's not treated the same way as someone that, is a hero for a day that does something good, because you're doing it 6 to 8 times a day, right? At the end of the week.
It's busy. It's a very, very busy profession.
Right? So you've had, in a week, you could have, experienced heroism 40 times. It's true, right? Then you multiply that by the amount of weeks that you work and the years that you put in. That's what you do. And that's okay. Like, I think it's okay. I know you're a humble person, but I think it's okay to just say thank you, right? Because it's really that. And I know that goes across a lot of different departments, and I know it's what you signed up for, but to me, the uniform is not a cape, and, it's, and it is a career. I guess I just look at it from the side of, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I have friends that I care about just like you do, right? And you have family and you have people that you love. And so knowing that the appreciation is a big part of, what maybe would help in terms of the community, that collaboration between the public or the patient and a paramedic. What are some of the things that, I know, for example, the Ottawa First Responders Foundation, it's a charity. It strives to help achieve, some of that depleted energy, to help recharge it, if you will. And I know that the public could help the foundation, through giving, but maybe you could speak a little bit to what are some of the things that you think are important that the foundation does and how it helps, whether it's first responders or their family. And because I'd love to hear more about it from your side, right?
Yeah, the foundation is so special. Being able to be a part of it, and let alone a board member, is so near to dear to me. What we can do for first responders here in the Ottawa community is really be able to provide that give back in order to make sure our first responders are healthy outside of work, and that translates into even better work for the community in whatever position they're in. So on the foundation, what we do is we try and give back to our responders through financial means to gain access to mental health support.
Okay.
So on the board of directors, there are first responders from the tri-services, whether they're active or retired, as well as spouses of first responders and people that just want to give back and have an appreciation for what we do. And when we're all together and we discuss the tri-services and what we can do for each other, the ideas that we have on the board have the ability to really change lives. And
would you say save a life?
Unequivocally, yes.
Yeah.
We are saving lives with the First Responder Foundation through providing that much needed mental health care that many, many, many first responders need and may not have access to. And we can give them that access.
And the mental health that you're talking about, in a general sort of term, PTSD, post-traumatic stress or operational stress injury, what does that mean? Like, for someone that's watching this or listening to this right now, what does it mean when you're a paramedic or you're a police officer or a firefighter or a veteran, right? Because you also help, past people that were first responders. What does it mean when someone reaches out for help? Like, what is that?
So I'm part of our clinicians working group. There's a police representative, fire representative, and paramedic. And when my email dings that we have a new application, I am so grateful that someone has reached out. They've had that resiliency to know that they need extra help. And I immediately text my 2 other colleagues and say, we have a new application. Let's review this. Let's get this done. Because I don't want there to be a delay in them accessing help. So the sooner we can look at that application and tell them you've been approved, and generally we try and send them a text if it's one of our own, or we can give them a quick call. They know they have that weight off their shoulder, that they're not waiting to know whether or not they're going to be able to get the help that they so badly want.
Right.
They can know fairly quickly, that help is available to me. Mm-hmm. Let's book those appointments. Let's get to where I need to be. And I love the fact that we are able to do that.
Right. In our business, we call that speed to the lead.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
How you respond, because I've been through my own things, and I remember reaching out and asking for help once because I needed it. Mm-hmm. And when help is not there, it's such a fragile place, right? It could be decades worth of, holding something in, and then you finally say, I need help, right? Mm-hmm. You want that help to be there. And that to me is important, right? I mean, the fact that you are grateful that a lead, not a lead, but an applicant applies, mm-hmm. but it's one thing for them to apply, but it's another thing to recognize, like, on the other end of this email or this call in could be someone where it is a matter of them saving their life, right?
Absolutely. And although I don't want, it's a juxtaposition, because we don't want applications to come in, because we would love for our emergency first responders to be happy and healthy and not need additional help. But that's not the reality of it. And we often do hear that this is what we signed up for. And I can appreciate that in the sense that we signed up to help people. We signed up to drive the ambulance or the police vehicle or the fire truck. But we didn't sign up for the trauma that we are privy to, in a way. Right. We didn't sign up for it. And I'm very much someone that enjoys trauma calls. Right. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love them because I can do and I can help, and I know it's immediate.
Right.
But what bothers me about those calls, it's not the car that's broken. It's probably the people's families. It's what the person is saying. It's what I want to be able to do and may have limitations to do. And that's what I didn't know I was signing up for 17 years ago when I went to school.
Right.
And so having that ability to recognize in myself, or maybe someone else recognizing that I need the help and having that difficult conversation with me, and knowing that I can turn to the Ottawa First Responder Foundation, put in an application that takes maybe 5 minutes to put in my information, right, and press send, and have help. Even if I don't even have a clinician in mind, someone will help me find a clinician who's available that specializes in emergency first responders, and I know that I am now being taken care of. That is really special, because I feel a lot of emergency responders don't take care of themselves first. They
Right.
take care of everyone else, and they're secondary.
Yeah. And that's not a great way to live, right? I mean,
No.
It's a selfless path, but at the same time, I mean, eventually, if you can't take care of yourself, it's going to be hard to take care of others as well, right?
It is.
So I'm sure there's going to be first responders, I'm hoping, that will listen to this and get educated, because the foundation isn't known by everyone. I mean, it's it takes time to message it. But in terms of, if you're a first responder right now, and if you're struggling and you're scared, and you're afraid to ask for help, but you know you need to do it, you're acting out at home, or things aren't good at work, you're short fused or reclusive, whatever the different feelings and emotions are, what would you say to a first responder that needs help?
I wouldn't say it's so simple. So this is me starting my conversation with you. It's so simple what I would say to them, and it's just, please reach out for help. Help is available. There's people that want to help you. There's people that will help you. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't know where to start, which is so common when you're in this pit of worry and this season or this chapter of your life that isn't going very well, it's so easy to look at it and be like, well, this is impossible. I can't climb to the top of this hill, so this is my life now. Mm-hmm. And that's not the way it is. We are all here to help you, whether that's the First Responder Foundation, your peers, your peer support network, or a peer support network from another service. Please reach out, because there's so many people that want to help you. We want to be there for you. We want to support you, and we will help you to climb that mountain and get through this season or this chapter.
I think that's very, very powerful. Resiliency, is a huge part of it. But someone told me once that, if you carry weight, eventually it gets really heavy. And he was talking about mental health, right? If you have things that have happened to you or events in your life that kind of hold you down in one place and they affect how you make other decisions, this person told me, you want to try to deal with that, right? And to me, that's a superpower.
Resiliency?
Getting rid of that weight.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because once you get rid of it, you're free. You're able to just roar, right? You're able to be better with yourself. And I'm sure you've seen many people over time that have asked for help get to the other side, and you see this rewarding.
It's so rewarding. It's the perfect word for it.
Right.
It's so rewarding to see someone that was struggling so hard and your heart breaks for them. And then you see them maybe 2 months, 6 months, a year later, and they are smiling and they have color and they see positive in their life again. And that just, I could be having a bad day and all of a sudden I'm having a great day.
Right.
Because I just see this change in the person that I knew was there.
Yeah.
They just had to be able to get there themselves with help and support. And
some of the miracles of that, because I think that's really miracle work, is when someone can get themselves past with other people helping. The beneficiaries are children or spouse.
Absolutely.
Their peers, right? And of course, going right back to the people that they serve in the community.
Always.
They just get a much more solid person at their door. But so lastly, I guess we'll wrap up a little bit. But you as a person, we haven't had a chance to talk. What are some of the things that Brittany, outside of being a paramedic, loves to do?
Oh, I love being able to cook. I'm a really good cook. I love being able to turn that back into the ability for shift workers to make healthy meals for on the job.
Okay.
It started a long time ago with my students showing up to work with empty lunch pails or like a granola bar and a Coke. I'm like, what are you going to do with this? We have a 12-hour shift. They're like, oh, I'm going to pick something up. I'm like, no, you're not.
Right.
But okay. So I really took my my skills for cooking and being able to whip meals up for work and turned it into more of a hobby where I can teach other people how to cook for their 12-hour shifts. And I really enjoy that. I'm also pretty active in my community. I'm active with children within my life and being able to give back to others. So whether that's hanging out with friends.
More giving back.
I know, and I don't want it to be
I'm
corny. I want to change my answer.
No, but it's good. I mean, but that's just your DNA.
Yeah.
Right? You're a giver.
I really like to be able to socialize with people and be able to know that I'm making a difference in their lives, even if it's just hanging out with them because they are lonely, if that's making them meals because they just had a baby, if they've had a long stretch of shifts, they can't come into work, but they want to get together and like go for a walk. I like doing those things and it brings me joy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, including myself today, can learn from you. Your message today is powerful, right? Because you're getting out of your own head and helping others, and there's a reward there, right? You see someone smile like you've commented on, right? Or someone eats just a nutritious meal. I mean, it sounds simple, but if everybody did that, the world could be a lot better.
Fed responders are happy responders. So I think to go back to my hobby of like being able to cook, at the end of the day, it's if you're able to have a full meal, you're not going to be so cranky.
Right.
Because you actually have snacks that are available to you and you're not running for that microwave that's not available.
Right. So today, for me, this was a special opportunity because, you're one of the reasons, along with your peers, that we want to acknowledge, and we want to see that if anybody struggles, because I know a lot of first responders are just fine, like they make it, right? But you want to be able, when you're having it's like the opposite of a 911 call. When the first responder's having a bad day, you kind of want there to be something there for them. And having gone through, personal experience of getting help and then seeing that help can really, even though it's scary and there's a lot of fear there, seeing the benefit of a better life afterwards, you want to pay that forward. So as much as our company takes pride in supporting the First Responder Foundation. I hope that members of the public will do the same. And, the next time that maybe you see an ambulance go by or you see a police car or a firefighter, you think just a little bit differently.
I truly hope so. And I hope that recognition is there, that everyone's doing the best they can. And so if they turn in front of you and their lights are on and they don't wave, or you see them laughing, they're just doing the best they can. And they're going to go to wherever they're on their way to, and they're going to rock that call, and they're going to give that patient the best they can, even if as a person they have nothing left to give. They will do the best they can for that patient.
You're hearing it from...
Yeah, so if the community just recognizes that and just gives us a little bit more grace sometimes, I think it'll go a long way.
Fair enough. I appreciate your time, and I thank you again for everything that you do. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll see Brittany. Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. But if you do, hopefully you can say hi.
Yeah. Maybe get her an apple or something. This is our For the Frontline Walker Talks podcast. If anyone has a direct question about the Ottawa First Responder Foundation, has a question for Brittany, or anyone that needs help, we certainly ask you to reach out.
Please.
And there are people and resources there available to you. And this is our episode of Walker Talks. Until next time, Brittany, thanks very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.